The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRCMedia, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This week on FRCmedia News, following Monday's fatal shooting at a Pawtucket ice rink, what are the security measures at Fall River High School athletic events? It's been a difficult winter for the homeless in Fall River. How has the city's primary homeless shelter dealt with the situation? And Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll speaks to local business leaders. All this and more coming up. It's Thursday, February 19th, 2026. This is FRCmedia News. I'm Keith Tebow. Police in Pawtucket continue to unravel the circumstances of Monday's mass shooting during a hockey game at the Lynch Arena, where 2 people were killed, with the gunman taking his own life. One of the stories that has come out of this tragedy is the security measures at local high school sporting events. Now, we don't know too much about what was happening at the rink in Pawtucket, but what about sports matches here in Fall River? Mayor Paul Coogan says security at indoor events at Durfee High School are extensive, while he's unsure how the state-owned rinks, like the Driscoll rink, which is run by third-party management, handles protection.
Friday night, I went up to senior night for the girls basketball team. There was, you always pass through a metal detector on your way into Durfee basketball. You have a policeman there, you have security guards there. So I think, from what I see, we do a pretty good job of monitoring these events and making sure we keep the kids and their families as safe as we can. When I go in, I go through the metal detector. So I'm assuming everyone does. It's the only way in, and as you enter, and right on the left, there's a policeman stand there. I'm not sure about the process at a hockey game, but I know when I was administrator in the Fall River school systems, for certain hockey games, you had to have administrators attend, not just a teacher and not just a chaperone. They wanted an administrator there, and you had to sign in and sign out to help keep an eye on the crowd and what was going on. So I'm not sure what goes on over at that rink, but those were that was my experience with hockey games at Durfee.
The mayor says security measures are similar at athletic events at the city's middle schools as they are at Durfee High School. In a report first published by the Fall River Reporter, Governor Maura Healey has signed legislation that will grant the city of Fall River the right to appoint its next police chief via civil service. Fall River has been led by 4 chiefs since 2020, with Chief Kelly Furtado appointed last May on a 1-year contract. The move to civil service was made in cooperation with the Fall River City Council. Mayor Coogan says he's still unsure whether he will seek to extend Chief Furtado's contract.
We'll decide what to do going forward a little further down the line. That bill obviously says when a vacancy occurs. So if she were to stay or she were to leave, that's it would be at the end of that time. I think Chief Furtado's done a tremendous job, and from what I see with the Fall River PD, they have really stepped up their game under her leadership. I think she's got some good morale going there. I think we're improving our numbers there for people coming in to join the Fall River Police Force. You look at what the young lady that was involved in the shooting along with the 2 men, those were all very young police officers as far as I look at it. And they handled that whole manner in a spectacular job. And that has a lot to do with administrative leadership in the police department that supports these young officers.
Chief Furtado has attained the requisite service time to qualify for retirement, which the mayor says is a decision between the chief and her family. This winter has been colder and snowier than in recent years, and that's put an added strain on the growing number of homeless in Fall River. This week, we had the opportunity to speak with Rosa Tavares. She's the Director of Homeless Services at the city's primary shelter, Steppingstone Inc.'s First Step In, about the challenges it and other homeless advocates have faced this winter season. Rosa, thank you for joining me to talk about what's happening here at the First Step In. It's been a while since we caught up. Let me just ask you, what's this winter been like for Steppingstone and the First Step In? You know, we hear that the problems with homelessness are not getting any better. What's been this winter like?
It's been challenging. I think it's been challenging for all the homeless service providers across the state. But here in Fall River, I can speak for us, it's been really hectic. The weather has been extreme a lot of the time. And so we've had to respond with emergency response, for protecting people from the extreme weather. We had made a plan anyway, with the city and the FAST team to utilize our conference room with the Tomeo Center. So the full procedure that's always been in place is in place. Our 50 beds are open. Our emergency cots are open in case somebody needs something during the nighttime hours. The winter overflow at the Tomeo Center has been at capacity daily with 25 individuals more. And during extreme weathers, the conference room has actually opened to fit about 40 individuals.
Yeah, so we're actually in that right now. We're filming this in the conference room, where the overflow and the warming center happens in the evening during cold weather, and that's traditionally about 20 degrees at night, and or with severe wind chills or weather. What's the situation? How does that work?
The nighttime temperatures have to be below 20, or with a wind chill factor below 20. That's what generates the extreme weather. And Nikki Fontaine at the FAST team decides when it opens and lets us know it's going to be open. We help with setup, stocking up some supplies for them. And a lot of our staff has helped staff it as well, because it's been a lot of nights, consecutive nights. We had that storm, and it was all hands on deck,
So let me ask you, in terms of the warming center here, is it funded by money that you receive, or is it a combination of community development funding? I guess, how does that work in terms of Steppingstone allowing this space to be open for the warming center?
So this space, we had just signed an agreement with the city of Fall River so that the FAST team could kick in extreme weather in this room. Initially, we had concerns about capacity. The capacity was resolved. They came down and put an occupancy permit, so we were all set to roll. And we mutually had concerns about how to maintain safety and how to just be low threshold and make sure that anybody that needed to be protected from the extreme weather was protected. So the FAST team goes out, gets people, brings them in. Our outreach team is going out there daily as well, informing everybody when it will be open, because Nikki will let us know early in the day that it's going to be open that night. Anybody that comes to our First Step In door seeking shelter, food, because a lot of people come to our door for food, they come for lunch and dinner, we let them know it's going to be open. So it's between all of the outreach teams in Fall River and also South Coast, the mobile team, all of them and us together, even Thrive. Thrive is a meeting place for unhoused individuals to go and get fed. So all of the homeless service providers have been really in tune, and they've been announcing it well on social media. So anybody in need has come, thankfully, and people have been safe.
In terms of the First Step In, there's 50 during the winter, 20 during the summer? 20 to 30?
No, we've changed it to 50 year-round because of the need, yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned the word no threshold, and for the warming center, there is no threshold. So what are the thresholds, if there are any, for the First Step In and the nightly shelter?
Every shelter that's funded by the state currently has to be a low threshold shelter. That means we don't create barriers to shelter. We don't disqualify somebody for, being actively using. They just need to come safe to shelter. And it's the same thing with the extreme weather and the overflow. we know that during the winter, individuals that struggle, with intense mental health symptoms, with substance use disorders that are untreated, that it's going to be a little more difficult to keep them safe. And the whole objective in the winter and during extreme weather is to just save their lives. So we have to work very diligently at maintaining safety while protecting them from the weather.
You mentioned the first step in is for individuals, but you did mention before we started that there's been a number of families that has increased as well in terms of whole families being homeless. And I know that you try to help them as well. How do you do that?
Well, families with small children, we divert to the family shelter system. Our case managers will work with them in getting into the emergency assistance section for families. And sometimes when we have a family of adults, then we're able to help them here and in all of these other situations, like in overflow and in the extreme weather, because families of adults can all be served by shelters that are for individuals. There's no children. But I mean, we've had a lot of complex problems this winter. We've had people that, even came here because they met someone on social media. And we've helped transport someone back to his family in Las Vegas. There was a brother waiting for those individuals, and he had secured a job for the head of household, and they went down just by, it's every individual situation is so different. We've also had a lot of medically compromised individuals, a lot of breathing conditions, a lot of people that are paralyzed and in wheelchairs, and those individuals have been placed better, like in motels. In motels, especially if they're immobile, they can be there comfortably. They can have some of their needs met without having to take their wheelchair out of a conference room and go around all day, or go up to a warming center at a church that might not be wheelchair accessible. So every situation just really involves a lot of teamwork,
I know there are always attempts to get those individuals into some of the other programs here at Stepping Home, supportive housing, and the residential rehabilitation program. How does that work? And how, I know one of the issues for a lot of people who either come here at the first step in, or even to the warming center, or not even seeking services at all, is they just don't want the services. So I guess talk a little bit about how do you try to transition some of the people in the inn into these other services to get them permanently housed?
If they've somehow gotten into the First Step In and have secured a bed at the First Step In, we offer intensive case management through our CSPHI case management services, and those services are specialized in securing housing. That case management is specialized in securing housing. So what we do then is start working on housing plans. We review what their housing barriers are. There's a lot of eviction history sometimes, not for non-payment because of affordability. Some of them may have a criminal record. Some of them may just have never lived alone at all because they're all of a sudden young adults that are homeless in shelter. So it's really very individual, but what we do, we have a coordinated entry system here for all of the housing programs. So immediately when somebody enters our system, we try to complete a SPDAT. A SPDAT is the application for the HUD-funded homeless service housing programs in our community. So we complete one of those because those are subsidized, and those they'll be able to afford. And those programs are not based, we'll look at a query and say, we're going to work on that. We're going to work on substance abuse. We're going to have case managers that are going to help you make some goals that are going to, like, break your cycle of homelessness, and you can return into, from that program, you can go into independent housing. That seems like an easy task, but the housing inventory is so low that that's affordable. So those housing programs are like a treasure in our community, and there's just not enough of it to, get everybody housed. We're trying to move people on from those programs into independence so that we can make those resources available for others. There are some barriers to that too. Not only is there just not enough inventory, there's also that SPDAT that I talked about is a vulnerability index. It measures how vulnerable you are. So the more vulnerable you are, the higher up you are on the list for those programs. So a lot of the times, our outreach workers and CSPEC workers are connecting with individuals out in the community, in the encampments and so forth, and they're starting the SPDAT early on as well. So their vulnerability score is, they're more vulnerable than those in shelter because they're shelters. So a lot of the times, their names come up first, which is how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to help the most vulnerable. So we're helping them that way, and we're connecting them also to, and that's not just the ones in shelter, because our CSPEC staff and outreach team go out and connect with everybody in encampments and when they come for food, or all the guys that have been sleeping here in this conference room, if it's cold, they'll go over there. They learned that we give them meals. If they don't feel like going into the church or whatever, they'll just come over and sit down and talk to us and get connected. And then we try to engage them into those services. You saw me just now with that gentleman that came in, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me with housing?" And I put him into one of the offices with one of our caseworkers to help out with that. It's just homelessness is a very complex problem, and every person is an individual. Every person has different barriers to housing, and every person has different things that are contributing to the homelessness. So it's just a matter of creating a good plan for that one individual to address all the things that have been barriers and to see which housing best suits their needs. Sometimes it may not even be one of those housing programs. Sometimes they're coming in a lot worse medical conditions than they ever have. So sometimes it's assisted living, or sometimes it's even a nursing home.
How do you see, I guess, open up your crystal ball, and the homeless issue is not getting any better. How can it get better? Or I mean, is it just something we don't know at this point?
For a little bit, it felt like we had a good handle on it here in Fall River. We were actually looked at as like the community that had it going, and we've always, I think Fall River has always been a little bit ahead of the game. We have our own little way of looking at things. And we've always been proactive in like trying to plan new programs or add resources, or even just the different populations that are coming into homelessness and try to focus in on them. But that has not stopped the homelessness or the increase in numbers, and that's because of poverty. Poverty isn't going away. Like, you have to solve so many other problems before homelessness solves. So basically what we're doing is responding every year to whatever comes at us. It's like, even if we had, think about it, like when we moved here, we thought the 50 beds were going to be enough, that we would have 20 and open it up for 50, because we had 25 people or so in our churches then. Winter overflow. The first winter we opened here, not only were our 50 beds full, but we had people we didn't think we would need the churches anymore, so we weren't prepared. We had people in our waiting area. And every year it seems that there are more and more people in need. And every year it seems like we're trying to just do what we can with what comes at us. And every year we project that there's going to be a need for more. Everyone is afraid that someone's out there that hasn't sought us out, or that's brand new and doesn't know where to go. There's like a fear that we'll lose someone. And so far this year, the united effort with all the homeless service providers in this community is really inspirational.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Sushi chef, Pier 52, located at 52 Ferry Street, is looking for a full-time sushi chef, responsible for preparing a variety of sushi with precision and artistry. Job number 238-92543. Medical Director, Grifols Biomat Plasma Donation Center, located at 370 Rhode Island Avenue, seeks a full-time medical director, responsible for clinical strategy relating to upcoming clinical trials. Job number 238-28851. Boys Outdoor Track and Field Assistant Coach, BMC Durfee High School, located at 360 Ellsbury Street, is seeking a full-time Boys Outdoor Track and Field Assistant Coach to support the head coach in designing training programs and providing technical instruction for running and field events. Job number 238-23817. Cardiac sonographer, Primacare, located at 289 Pleasant Street, is urgently looking for a full-time cardiac sonographer. For more information, call 508-674-5111. Bristol Community College, located at 777 Ellsbury Street, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Staff employees, job number 238-24826. Environmental technologist, job number 238-27733. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll was in Greater Fall River this morning to meet with local business leaders at a breakfast sponsored by the One SouthCoast Chamber of Commerce. The Lieutenant Governor noted that she and Governor Maura Healey remain committed to making Massachusetts more affordable. Housing is at the top of the list. The state needs over 200,000 more housing units to meet the demand. The Lieutenant Governor says making sure housing is affordable for all is a priority. But those just entering the job market is a subset focus that will ensure those completing their education in the Commonwealth stay here.
The average age of the first-time homeowner in Massachusetts right now is 40 years old. That's the oldest age we've ever had. Our young adults want to be able to do the things that most of us did when we were young adults. Our biggest outmigration in this Commonwealth is not seniors retiring to Florida, although this time of year it's not a bad thing to think about. Our biggest outmigration is 26 to 35-year-olds. And they are leaving because they want to put down roots, they want to buy a home, they want to do the same things that many of us did when we were 26 to 35 years old, but they don't have the housing supports to do it. It's not affordable when you look at the prices that we have now. You all know that. If you own your home, don't we love the equity we have, how it's going to help us in our retirement, but it's also hurting us when it comes to keeping and attracting the talent that we need, the young adults who are here. Most young adults are leaving college despite our best efforts to try and really reduce the cost of college with higher debt, and then they're entering into a housing market that is too expensive. They might be the first generation to do worse than their parents, and I'm not okay with that. So we've got work to do as a community, at the local level, as a state, in combination to drive down cost.
When it comes to keeping energy costs down, the Lieutenant Governor pointed to energy price cuts for February and March, and working with providers to cut unnecessary fees and incentivize savings to pass on to users. She also said energy supply must remain diversified.
We don't have the oil or the gas in Massachusetts. Everything needs to be imported in. That makes it more expensive. But we do have the opportunity to harness the wind, to harness solar, to find ways to use technology like battery storage, to invest in efficiencies. Most of us have building systems. It's not an old thermostat in a wall. We have digital programmed ways to make sure we're using energy more efficiently. We're all in on that. But our energy affordability is definitely going to be key to our economy and our growth. Advanced manufacturing, quantum computing, AI. All of those things require more power. Everything I bought my kids and put under the tree this year plugs into the wall, like many of you. We've got to find ways to deliver power, deliver it cheaper. That's why we're excited to flip the switch on the hydropower line coming in from Quebec. That is now 20% of our power is coming from hydropower. It is cleaner and it is much more affordable. We are not resting. We know this is an important issue, particularly now. It is the #1 thing we hear about from both constituents and small business owners. The key to growth is going to be having power that's available, first of all, and then #2, making sure it's more affordable. We are all in on that.
Dog owners are being asked to prepare to apply for 2026 dog licenses. Owners of dogs 4 months or older with a valid vaccination chart can begin to apply for 2026 licenses beginning on Monday, March 9th. Fees are $15 for male and female dogs, $10 for dogs spayed or neutered. Valid veterinarian proof of spay or neuter is required. Those 70 or older will be able to apply for one free license with proof of age. Licenses can be obtained through the city clerk's office. Hours are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Friday. For more information, call 508-324-2220. That's all for this week's edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website, frmedia.org, for more local news and information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. on Channel 95 and the Fall River HD channel, which you can find on Channel 1072. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday.